We've got a new guest presenter onto the show. Quinton de Kock has continued where he left off. Afghanistan gets another scalp in a fairy tale campaign. Pakistan creates an upset by finally winning a game. Memories of another India versus Sri Lanka game at Wankhede, which was watched by billions around the world. We have a fascinating show ahead of us, so let's get straight into it. Hello, everyone watching and listening to the Common Fan Cricket Podcast from wherever you are. I am Prasanna, and I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and paying my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I'd also like all our viewers and listeners to click on the subscribe and the follow button through wherever you're listening. This will keep you updated whenever we drop a new episode. Speaking of things new, we have a guest presenter on this show. He has blown up his savings to watch as many India games as possible, and so he's currently bankrupt. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Vedant Lakhotia. How you going, Vedant?
Hey, what's up? What's up? The spirit of Bill Lowry. Good afternoon, Prasanna. Good afternoon, all. Nice to be here.
Tell me, how broke are you, Vedant?
Broke enough that I can't do Uber anymore, man. I have to take the local Kali Pili.
And yet you're taking the risk of recording this podcast from your office.
Are you on free office Wi-Fi? I mean, are you borrowing the office Wi-Fi as well, or are you using your
Borrowing the
data?
office Wi-Fi. I think I'll crash here at night, or my parents might disown me. I'm speaking of things which I'm stealing from office. I'm also sneaking a planned sick leave tomorrow to just go to the Wankhede to see the game.
Nice. And you have an education loan also, no?
I have an education loan. If my boss, by any chance, is hearing this podcast now, it would be a good time to tune off. You do not know me, I do not know you. But yeah, man, it's an Indian World Cup. It's happening after 12 years. India's favorites. You've got to go and see it, man.
And is your missus okay with that, Vedant?
Dude, don't get me speaking of it, man. Like, there were talks of, having a mid-November engagement and all, but like, I bought the World Cup final tickets in like May, dude. So I had to,
Right.
postpone
So
the engagement. Yeah, I mean, if you're hearing the podcast too, if to my missus, if she's hearing the podcast too, now would be a good time to tune off. Basically,
Vedant, look, as much as I want to welcome you to the podcast, all you've been doing since you've been on this podcast is asking people to tune off. I don't think that aligns with the ethos of our podcast. But yeah, look, congratulations on the mid-November engagement, which I presume is the World Cup final.
Anyway, look, looking forward to talking to you in more detail with that. But before we begin, after Ritvik acknowledged that his landlord was a jackass of the first order, he's now being made homeless. So that's why he can't make it into the show, because he's trying to couch surf. So anyone in Delhi or Noida or Gurgaon or wherever he is, if you're interested in hosting Ritvik for a night or two, please reach out. That being said, Manan stays very close to him, and if Manan doesn't want to host Ritvik, I don't think anyone's got any other chances.
I was just gonna ask Manan why you're not helping a bro out, man.
No, I am. I offered last week also to help him shift wherever he is going. And he's in Gurgaon, by the way, the Jat.
He just wants to. Sorry, what? Where you say he is?
He's in the Jat land of Gurgaon.
Right. No wonder he's jet lagged all the time.
Yeah, he is.
God. Oh, God. Now, moving on to better things. Afghanistan is on a roll. England, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all very proud cricketing nations, with the exception of England, which is a shit cricketing nation. However, all three of them having tasted defeat at the hands of Afghanistan. What do you think, Manan, and then to VL?
Okay. Of course, Afghanistan, the only upset in the tournament that they had was against Bangladesh. Otherwise, just feeling it so far. And I so want them to make the semifinals, and they've got a couple of very tough games ahead of them. But overall, it's been a dream run so far. Kudos to the likes of Mohammad Nabi and their batting team. More importantly, all of them are not like known players, Zardan and Shahidi. So they've just been killing it at number 3 and 4. And more importantly, it's that spirit, right? You see any ground in the country, there are Afghani fans who are coming in and it's a great sight to watch. And more importantly, I think more than me or the Afghani fans, I think it's Irfan Pathan who's the happiest when Afghanistan wins, keeps on dancing and whatnot. Initially, I had thought it was just because Pakistan is what they've beaten, but this time around, it's he just keeps on dancing whenever they win. So overall, looks pretty good in terms of how they are faring. Again, as I said, right, a few more non-upsets, and they could be in the semi-final, maybe against India, for all you know.
Yeah, man. Manan, I totally agree with you, dude. And actually, funnily speaking about it, I actually have tickets for the Australia versus Afghanistan game. That's at the Wankhede, and that's on a Tuesday, which is a working day.
Excellent, man. That's the
And
way to go
Excellent,
about it.
And
excellent.
Afghanistan next play Netherlands, which they are favorites to beat, considering the form in which they are. Their next game is against Australia, the Wankhede. It's a super difficult fixture. But if at 4 o'clock, if Australia like some 40 for 4, then do I like keep my job or do I like follow my heart? Like, I don't know, man. You think any of y'all can help a bro out with the job if I find
Yeah, of course, the way we are having
PK is
Ritvik
your
on.
man. PK is your man. He's got job postings all over the portal. So
Mate.
PR, dude,
Just to clarify, I don't own a company. I work for a company that's hiring. Let's
Mate,
just
if
kind of get
you
that.
speak like you own it, we're gonna believe you own it.
PK, I believe you, dude. You're my guy.
Yeah.
You're my guy. I'm gonna get a job with PK in Australia, and then guess what? I'm gonna blow up everything on the MCG, the SCG, the ACG at Perth.
I'm sorry to digress, guys, but I just saw this on the Cricket Info online commentary. Decock, stand and deliver. belts the length ball down the boundary. Well, they're going all guns blazing, South Africa.
Oh, good lord.
It's gonna be an interesting game. Speaking of the other big upset, Pakistan finally won a game amidst all the hype around ordering biryanis and skipping the team lunch or dinner or whatever. Looks like something in the food finally worked for them. What are your thoughts, Manan?
It did. And of course they beat Bangladesh. We'll not talk about that. However, given the game, I think it was a pretty easy one for them. Of course, they are still doing their RCB-like calculations in terms of how they can get in the semi-finals. But I just wanted to specifically talk about that shot from Fakhar Zaman. The way he hit that six and the sound of the bat was just too sweet. And it reminded me of that six or the set of sixes that Nathan Astle hit against England in 2001, 2002 at Christchurch in that mammoth double hundred that he had. My mind raced back to that day. And overall, I think Shaheen Shah Afridi got his 100th wicket. Again, overhyped Shaheen Shah Afridi, if I might say. Another Afridi that is overhyped. As much substance.
With all due respect, this is probably an Afridi that plays his age, or unless we're thinking he's 16 years old.
I don't. At this point, I can't tell who the younger Afridi is, to be honest.
So, Vedant, of course, without talking about Bangladesh, do you want to talk about something about the last night's game?
I'm sorry.
Not really.
What was last night's game? Sorry. I had a wild night, so.
Thank you for those nuggets of information and that innuendo about Decock Vijay. I really appreciate that. Now let's move on to India versus Sri Lanka. And the 3 times these two teams have played the Wankhede, India has won twice. And in one of them, Dhoni finishes off in style, screamed Ravi Shastri, as the nation collectively went absolutely mental. So, Vedant, what do you remember of that night and day?
Dude, talk about that. 2011 World Cup final happening at the Wankhede, like 5 kilometers from where I stay. I was like, I think like 13 or something back then. And, my granddad, he just asked me, I have these 2 tickets. And this was, before the World Cup started. And he's like, India's not playing that good, The tickets are for MRP, but like India's not playing that good. They won't reach the finals. So, just like, let it be. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, fine, let it be. And that's like the biggest regret of my life. This is why, I've been doing the India tour all along. I don't want to live with this regret, man. Like,
Wait.
It's the saddest night of mine.
Vedant, did you just say you live 5 kilometers from the Wankhede? Are you like a South Bombay kid?
You got it, dude. You got it.
Yeah, there you go. Like, I thought there was something about that accent. Can you tell? Can you
You
tell?
got it.
I'm very good at detecting accents. Can you tell PK is a fake Australian by his accent?
You got it, mate. The way he said, top bloke. He gives it
Oh,
away.
Jesus Christ. This is even worse than
It's
my
worse.
accent.
Yeah, it's worse when you try it, Vedant. Sorry. I mean, you're a guest on the podcast, but that was just...
That was pretty piss poor. Manan, thoughts?
So yeah, 2011, I was not 13 for sure. I watched the second half of the game in a restaurant, and it was one of the best evenings of my life. After we finished the game, we just went out on the streets. I drove around, till about 3 a.m. at night in Delhi. You would randomly stop at any place on the road. There'll be people coming out. We would dance, we would click pictures, and then move on. If there is police on that road, we'll be dancing with them as well. All the huge junctions of Delhi, ITO, IIT flyover and whatnot, they were just jam packed, and we were just moving around. And until 3:30 in the night, it was just, of course, crackers and whatnot. And of course, we did know that we'll probably win by the end. And that's when I think people were already out on the roads and celebrating. And that was just magical. Also because it was the first time, at least in since we started watching cricket, that the World Cup was in India, and we have reached the finals and not got 120 for 8 in a semi-final, and nobody cried, or we did cry, but happy tears. So that was a funny evening that way.
Manan, pass it on to me. Just say, Vijay,
Gotcha.
what was your experience like?
Okay. Okay, so that was that. And Vijay, what was your experience that night?
Actually, very similar. We were also looking for a decent hotel or pub to watch the game in. I was a teetotaler, and so like actually all of us were. We ended up going to a pub, and then the vibes were off, as today's kids, as Vedant would probably say today. So went back to my place. A bunch of people, about 8 of us, were watching that, and then all 8 of us, once India won the game, crammed ourselves into my Alto, which is the car I still drive, and I'm quite proud of it. And we had a very similar experience to you, where we were just like, cruising down the streets of Chennai, down Mount Road. We had like hordes of people coming, random strangers fist bumping us. We had Thai Mandai Vanakkam, A.R. Rahman's, Ma Tujhe Salam's Tamil version, blasting on the car speakers, and everybody like, celebrating, and, the chorus is going up whenever the song was heard. So yeah, that was a truly epic moment. Great to reminisce that. I'm sure PK's experience would have been wildly different in Australia. So PK, do you want to tell us what it was like? Because I don't
PK
think
was
that.
sleeping. Yeah.
Sorry?
Pardon?
PK was probably sleeping.
No, I wasn't. Funnily enough, I wasn't. So I was in Adelaide, and around that time, usually around the March, April time, the Indian community in Adelaide holds an event that showcases the Indian community, the food, the dance, the music, everything like that, right? In one year, the talent of the Indian community culminated in 7 groups wanting to and subsequently dancing to Nimbuda Nimbuda 7 times, but I digress. That's a different story. So that year, 2011, as the World Cup progressed and we realized that India was going to play in the final, the president of the Indian Association, hi Vikram Uncle, if you're listening, he made a phone call to the local Foxtel representative in Adelaide, and to their credit, Vijay, News Corp and Foxtel basically agreed to put up a live feed.
Mate, News Corp helping out a minority is stuff that should be on the news.
Exactly. So so we were able to show not only people that attended the event, the game, but pretty much anyone else that wanted to come. So we were able to show that, and then later on, me and another friend of mine, Adi Rai, if you're listening, hi, hello. We went to another friend of our place, Grisham, once again, hi, hello, if you're listening, and to watch the rest of the game, and then just absolutely go mental when we won. But I just remember, you knew how much India wanted to win when you saw a person or a player like Munaf Patel diving to save boundaries. Right? That guy couldn't dive to get a free kick in football. He's diving to save boundaries.
He did.
Right. So, it's been a good 12 years since then. And here's hoping that, obviously the the venues have changed and probably the opponents will change as well. But hoping that India get to lift the cup once again.
Yep.
Yeah. So
PK, I have a
look,
question for you.
yeah, go ahead.
So you've been giving all these shout outs to random people in Australia over the past few episodes as well. Have you been secretly collecting like money in exchange for these shout outs on our podcast?
If I say anything, can it be used against me on a perjury trial?
Mate, I don't think that should really bother you considering how much you speak and whatever you've said in the past.
You will.
It's never stopped you from speaking. So
I do not want to prejudice any adverse court findings against me. So I will take a vow of silence on that one.
Is that the reason Vedant is broke, because he paid a lot to you to get him on the podcast?
Ask him, mate. Don't ask me. Ask him. Look, considering he's from South Bombay, he should be pretty loaded.
yeah, that's what you would thought. Like when sober kids say they're broke, they probably mean that they've not refueled their BMW in like 10 days.
I mean, if I get fired from my job, PK is my backup, so I just like decline to come and do.
That's where all the money went then. Okay.
Yes, it
What?
did.
Right.
I'm Vedant's sugar daddy now.
All right, if you want to be that, PK, you've had a history of being a questionably weird daddy to kids that are not yours. So
Oh Jesus!
what's one
Sorry,
more?
let's not go there.
What's one more to that?
Oh God! And on that
Munaf
note,
Patel, Munaf Patel, just to close on that thought, you said he dived. The next time I saw him diving was in England, and he had a concussion after that.
Speaking of concussions, did you guys hear about Glenn Maxwell falling off a golf cart and missing out on the next game because of a concussion?
no.
Yeah, that's like the most recent news. So he's going to be missing the next game. Australia's playing, I think, against the
Oh
Netherlands.
Jesus!
Netherlands was in Afghanistan, because if it's Afghanistan,
yeah.
then I'm going for it, dude.
Yeah, it should be Afghanistan, and he's missing that game.
Speaking of that, the golf incident, Adam Zampa was on one of our rival podcasts, and he had mentioned that they are calling their golf game the Jessie Ryder Cup.
Yeah. Right. Anyway,
Alright.
so
Wow.
So at least we don't get to see a 40-ball century from Maxwell to put Afghanistan in their place.
Oh,
So-
dude, by the way, the next game's against England, so doesn't matter. Like, they're easier opponents
it's
than
an-
Afghanistan,
It's an
dude. They're easier.
inconsequential game then.
Oh jeez. All right.
Organization will continue.
Indeed. So look, guys, I think it's time to close it off. So firstly, Vedant, thank you very, very much for joining us. Much happier for you to be here. Hopefully, A, you do end up getting married, and B, you don't get fired. If any of those do not happen, do not blame us. I'm sorry. Secondly, once again, to all our viewers and listeners, please click on the subscribe button to follow us and get updated on the podcast. And then finally, thank you very, very much for listening in and watching in tonight. Once again, join us for the next set of episodes, and hopefully happy cricket, whether it's watching, playing, or listening. Thank you very, very much.
All right, PK.
Thank you, Vedant, for joining us.
Always a pleasure, man.
Of course it is. You're going to Wankhede.
All right. Anyway, on that note, good night and good afternoon, everyone.